Disclaimer: this story is inspired by real-life events and is told for entertainment and awareness purposes only. Names and identifying details may have been changed to protect the privacy of individuals. Viewer discretion is advised due to themes involving trust, relationships, and emotional betrayal. It started like any other ordinary evening. The kind where the soft hum of the TV fills the room, and the air smells faintly of dinner just finished. Emma sat curled up on the couch, her legs tucked under a blanket, scrolling mindlessly through her phone while her husband, Daniel, sat across from her, laughing at something on his screen. From the outside, they looked like the perfect couple, 10 years of marriage, a comfortable home, and what everyone believed was a love built on trust. But what unfolded that night would leave Emma questioning everything she thought she knew. They weren't the type to pry into each other's phones. That was an unspoken rule. Mutual respect, right? But something felt off. It was small at first. Daniel had started taking his phone with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. He turned off notifications and always placed the screen face down. Emma noticed. She didn't say anything, trying not to be the paranoid wife, but a quiet voice inside her had started whispering, and now it wouldn't stop. That night, as Daniel got up to take a quick shower, he left his phone on the nightstand. It was a rare moment, maybe even the first in weeks. Emma stared at it, her heart racing, unsure of what she was even looking for. She didn't want to be that person. But the thought wouldn't leave her alone. What if there was something he was hiding? Her hands moved before her mind could stop them. She picked up the phone, hesitating at the lock screen. It didn't need a password. They had never set one up. That, somehow, made her heart drop even further, like it was too easy. As soon as the screen lit up, she saw it. A string of messages. Not from a guy friend, not from a colleague, but from someone saved as J. The conversation wasn't long, but it didn't need to be. The words hit her like a slap. Miss you already, last night was perfect, and the worst, let's be careful, she might get suspicious. She felt her chest tighten as her breath caught. Her eyes scanned through more messages, her thumb trembling as she scrolled up. The messages painted a picture she didn't want to believe. Long chats, secret plans, shared photos. It was emotional. Intimate. Personal. It was a betrayal unfolding one message at a time. Daniel had always been attentive. Maybe too attentive lately. More helpful around the house, more affectionate in bed, more guilty. The realization came like a wave. He wasn't just being kind. He was overcompensating. And now it all made sense. Every little change, every moment she brushed off, this was the reason. She didn't cry. Not yet. There was too much shock, too much adrenaline. The sound of the shower still running in the background kept her grounded, like she was in a ticking countdown she couldn't stop. She could hear his voice faintly singing behind the bathroom door, completely unaware that his secret was now out in the open. A million thoughts swirled in her head. Should she confront him right away? Pretend she hadn't seen anything? Wait and see how far he'd go with the lies? Her fingers hovered over the message screen, tempted to type something, anything, to the other woman. But she stopped. That wasn't who she was. At least, not yet. Instead, she did something she never imagined herself doing. She took screenshots. Quietly, quickly. She sent them to her own email and deleted the traces. She didn't know what she'd do with them, but her instincts told her to protect herself first. When the shower stopped, and she heard Daniel step out, she placed the phone gently back on the table like it hadn't moved. He walked into the room, towel over his shoulder, smiling like everything was normal. "Hey, want to watch that show you like?" he asked, completely unaware that the ground beneath him had just shifted. Emma nodded, her voice steady. "Sure," she replied, her face unreadable. But inside her, everything had changed. That night, they sat together watching a comedy while her world silently collapsed. Emma didn't sleep. She lay awake next to him, staring at the ceiling, going over every detail in her mind. Who was Jay? How long had it been going on? Did anyone else know? The questions wouldn't stop, and the worst part was, she still didn't know what she was going to do. One part of her wanted to scream, to wake him up and demand answers. Another part wanted to observe him longer, to see what lies he would try to spin. And deep inside, buried under all the rage and confusion, there was a flicker of heartbreak. She loved this man. Or at least, she thought she did. By morning, she had a plan. She would act normal, at least for a little while. Not because she wanted to pretend, but because she needed to see more. If he was lying to her face, she needed to hear it. She needed to understand the kind of man he really was before she made her move. But Emma had no idea that the truth she uncovered that day was only the beginning. The woman he was texting? She wasn't a stranger. In fact, she was someone Emma knew far too well. And what happened when she found out, well, let's just say, it turned everything upside down. To be continued. The next morning felt surreal for Emma, like she was trapped in someone else's life. She woke up to Daniel's arm draped over her waist, his breathing soft and steady, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside her. Sunlight poured through the blinds, casting warm stripes across the bed, but all Emma felt was a cold pit in her stomach. She lay still, listening to the sounds of their house, the faint hum of the refrigerator, a dog barking outside, the muffled footsteps of neighbors heading to work. Everything seemed so normal, and yet nothing was normal anymore. Daniel kissed her cheek as he got up. "I'll make coffee," he said, his voice gentle, as though he was the perfect husband. Emma forced a small smile. "Thanks," she murmured, trying to keep her voice calm. She watched him walk away, feeling her chest tighten with anger and disbelief. How could he smile at her like that? How could he touch her, laugh with her, pretend like he wasn't living a double life? Emma got out of bed and moved mechanically through her morning routine. She washed her face, brushed her teeth, and stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes looked different, like they belonged to someone else, someone who suddenly knew a truth too heavy to carry. Memories flashed through her mind of birthdays, vacations, lazy Sundays on the couch. All the little moments that felt so genuine, now tainted by doubt. She wondered how long Daniel had been lying to her. As she entered the kitchen, the smell of coffee filled the air. Daniel was pouring 2 mugs, humming a tune under his breath. He glanced up at her, flashing a warm smile. "Sleep okay?" he asked. Emma swallowed hard. "Yeah. You," she replied. "Perfect," he said, handing her a mug. "I was thinking we could go out for dinner tonight. Just the 2 of us. We haven't done that in a while." Emma nodded slowly, her fingers tightening around the mug. Dinner. Like a date. Like everything was fine. She wondered if that was part of his act, keeping her close so she wouldn't suspect anything. If only he knew how much she already knew. As the day unfolded, Emma kept glancing at her phone, itching to look at the screenshots she'd sent herself, to confirm that it hadn't all been a nightmare. But she couldn't. Not yet. She wanted to act normal. To watch him. To see if he'd slip up. Daniel left for work around 9, kissing her on the forehead before he grabbed his keys. "Love you," he said. The words stung her ears. Emma forced herself to say it back, but it tasted bitter in her mouth. The moment he was gone, she collapsed into a chair and buried her face in her hands. Her mind was spinning. Who was Jay? Why did the messages feel so personal, so familiar? And then it hit her, the realization slamming into her chest. The woman he was texting, the woman calling him baby and making secret plans, it wasn't just anyone. It was Jenna. Emma's closest friend. Emma felt sick as she pieced it together. Jenna, who had been in their lives for years. Jenna, who came over for dinner, who laughed with Daniel over silly jokes, who cried on Emma's shoulder about her own failed relationships. Jenna, who Emma trusted with every secret. And now, Jenna, who was betraying her in the worst possible way. Emma's mind flashed back to little moments she'd ignored. The way Jenna sometimes complimented Daniel a little too much. How she stayed behind to help him clean up after parties. How she once giggled at a private joke between them that Emma didn't understand. Tiny moments she'd brushed off because she trusted them both. Now every memory felt like a clue she'd been too blind to see. She opened her laptop and pulled up the screenshots, reading the messages over and over. The words were casual but layered with hidden meaning. Mentions of meeting at a hotel, laughing about cover stories, and talking about how Emma was clueless. The betrayal cut deeper with every line. Emma clenched her fists, feeling anger rise in her chest. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to call Jenna right that second and demand the truth. But she stopped herself. She knew she needed to be smart. If she confronted them too soon, they might twist the story, lie, or cover it up. She needed proof, and she needed a plan. Throughout the day, Emma tried to go about her routine, but nothing felt right. She couldn't concentrate on work. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jenna, like fate playing a cruel joke. "Hey babe, wanna grab coffee later?" Emma stared at the message, feeling her pulse hammer in her ears. How dare she act like nothing was wrong? Emma typed a reply, fingers trembling. "Can't today. Feeling tired." She hit send and tossed the phone aside, feeling tears sting her eyes. By the time Daniel came home, Emma had rehearsed her calm face. He walked in, carrying takeout boxes, and kissed her cheek. "Changed my mind about dinner out. Thought we could just chill here," he said, setting the food on the table. Emma nodded, her stomach churning. They sat across from each other, eating Chinese food under the soft glow of the dining room light. Daniel chatted about his day, about some problem at work, about the neighbor's dog barking again. Emma listened, nodding, forcing a polite smile, but inside, she was screaming. Every time he glanced at his phone, she wondered if he was texting Jenna. Every time he laughed, she wondered if he was thinking of her. The distance between them felt like miles, even though they were sitting just inches apart. Emma told herself she would wait. She would gather evidence. She would let Daniel keep digging his own grave. Because one way or another, the truth was going to come out, and when it did, it would change everything. But as Emma watched Daniel clear the dishes and check his phone once more, she couldn't help but wonder, was there even more he was hiding? Because deep in her gut, she felt there was still a piece of the puzzle missing. And she was about to find it. That night, Emma lay awake again, her mind refusing to rest. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Jenna's smiling face and Daniel's arms around her. The betrayal felt raw, pulsing like an open wound. She kept replaying moments from the past few months, searching for signs she'd missed. There were so many things she could see clearly now. Like how Jenna had insisted on helping Daniel choose Emma's birthday gift last month. Or how she'd randomly texted Emma to ask if Daniel was working late on certain nights. It all felt like pieces of a puzzle she was only now putting together. The next morning, Emma decided she needed more than just screenshots. She wanted to know exactly how deep this went. She couldn't rely on suspicions anymore. So she reached out to her cousin, Lily, who worked part-time for a small private investigation service. Lily was the kind of person who could find out anything if she put her mind to it, and Emma trusted her more than anyone else right now. When Lily picked up the phone, Emma's voice shook as she explained everything. Lily listened quietly, then said, "I'm so sorry, Em. I'll help you. But you need to prepare yourself. It might be worse than you think." Emma hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. She was terrified of what Lily might uncover, but she knew she couldn't keep living in the dark. Meanwhile, Daniel kept acting like nothing was wrong. He joked with Emma over breakfast, helped her fold laundry, and even planned a movie night for the weekend. Every sweet gesture twisted like a knife in Emma's chest. She studied his face, watching for any flicker of guilt. But he was so good at pretending. She wondered how long he'd been living this lie, and how many other lies there were. A few days later, Lily called her back. Emma's heart pounded as she answered. Lily spoke in a low voice. Emma, I followed Daniel yesterday after work. He didn't go to the office like he said. He met Jenna at a small cafe downtown. They were very close. Hugging, touching hands across the table. And then they left together in Jenna's car. Emma felt the blood drain from her face. It was one thing to see messages. It was another to hear about them meeting secretly. Lily added, there's more. Jenna booked a hotel room that night. Under her name. I'm pretty sure Daniel went there with her. Emma pressed a hand to her chest, struggling to breathe. Lily's voice softened. Do you want me to keep digging? Yes, Emma whispered. I need to know everything. After hanging up, Emma felt like she was floating outside her body. Her world was cracking apart, but she forced herself to stay focused. She needed to keep up the act, at least until she figured out her next move. Meanwhile, another piece of the puzzle started bothering her. If Jenna and Daniel were sneaking around this openly, were they really being careful? What if someone else knew and just wasn't saying anything? Emma remembered how Jenna's brother, Mark, had been acting strange the last time they'd all hung out. He'd barely looked Daniel in the eye, and he'd seemed jumpy whenever Jenna's name came up. Emma decided to reach out to Mark. She sent him a casual message, asking if he wanted to grab lunch. When they met at a small diner the next day, Emma could tell immediately that he was nervous. His eyes darted around the room, and he kept shifting in his seat. They made small talk for a few minutes until Emma finally leaned forward. Mark, I know about Daniel and Jenna. I know they've been seeing each other. Please, I need you to tell me the truth. Mark froze. His face paled, and he looked away. Emma. I didn't want to get involved. But yeah. I know. I've known for a while. Emma's hands shook. How long? She asked. Mark sighed heavily. At least 6 months. Maybe more. Jenna told me bits and pieces. She said she and Daniel were serious. That he might leave you. But I didn't want to believe it. I thought she was exaggerating. I'm so sorry, Emma. Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes. 6 months. Half a year of lies. She swallowed hard, trying to keep her voice steady. Is there anything else I should know? Mark hesitated. Jenna, she said Daniel gave her money a couple of times. I think they're planning something. I don't know what, but it didn't sound good. Emma stared at him, her mind spinning. Money? Planning something? Her stomach churned with a fresh wave of fear. Was Daniel hiding financial secrets too? Or worse, plotting some way to leave her with nothing? As Mark reached for her hand, Emma pulled away gently, thanking him for telling her the truth. She left the diner in a daze, stepping out into the bright sun, feeling like the ground beneath her was slipping away. Now there were even more questions clawing at her. What was Daniel giving Jenna money for? Was he lying about their finances? And what exactly were they planning? Emma knew one thing for certain, this wasn't just about an affair anymore. It was about secrets stacked on secrets, and she was determined to expose them all. Emma drove home from the diner, gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Mark's words echoed in her ears. Daniel gave Jenna money. They're planning something. Her mind was racing with possibilities, each one darker than the last. Could Daniel be siphoning money from their joint account? Could he be preparing to leave her with nothing? Or was there something even more sinister going on that she hadn't yet uncovered? By the time she pulled into the driveway, her whole body was trembling. She sat in the car for a few moments, staring at the house she used to feel safe in. Now it felt like a stage set for a performance, each room holding secrets she hadn't seen. She took a deep breath and forced herself to go inside. Inside, Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, typing away on his laptop. He looked up as she entered and smiled. "Hey, babe. You look pale. Everything okay?" His voice was soft, concerned, so normal it made Emma's skin crawl. "I'm fine," she lied, hanging her purse on the chair. "Just tired." Daniel nodded and went back to his screen. Emma watched him carefully, noting how he subtly flipped his phone over when it buzzed. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. She knew without question he was still hiding something. Emma went upstairs and locked herself in the bathroom. She pulled out her phone and checked their bank account. Her heart nearly stopped when she saw multiple withdrawals she didn't recognize. Large amounts, spaced out over the past few months. The descriptions were vague, labeled as miscellaneous transfers. Her chest felt tight as panic rose in her throat. She quickly called Lily, her voice shaking. "Lily, he's moving money. I don't know where. I think he's planning to leave me and take everything." Lily's voice was urgent. "Emma, listen to me. Don't confront him yet. Let me trace where the money's going. And you need to protect yourself. Change your passwords, gather every document you can. Be ready." Emma nodded even though Lily couldn't see her. She hung up, breathing hard. That night, Daniel suggested they go for a walk. As they strolled down their quiet neighborhood street, the summer air thick around them, Emma tried to keep her expression calm while inside, her thoughts churned like a storm. Daniel slipped his arm around her waist, leaning in closer. "You've seemed distant lately. Is everything okay between us?" Emma forced a small smile. "Of course. Everything's fine." But even as she said it, she felt herself shaking. Because she knew the truth was about to explode. And soon, there would be no pretending left. Emma barely slept that night. Her mind kept circling back to the money Daniel had moved, the secret meetings with Jenna, and the growing list of lies he'd been telling. But just when she thought she'd uncovered the worst of it, Lily called again the next morning, her voice tight with urgency. "Emma, you're not going to believe this," she said. "The bank account Daniel's transferring money into? It's not in Jenna's name. It's under someone else entirely. A woman named Claire Foster." Emma blinked. "Who's that? Another woman?" "No," Lily replied. "That's the thing. Claire isn't a stranger. She's listed as a legal guardian on an old insurance form you both signed years ago. She's Daniel's ex-wife." Emma staggered back a step, clutching the edge of the counter for balance. "He told me he was never married before me." "Well, he lied. They were married for 3 years. I dug through public records. No one talks about her because she left the country after their divorce. But get this, Claire just moved back last month." Emma's head spun. "So, he's been giving her money?" "Yes. Large amounts. More than he's been giving Jenna." Emma's stomach dropped. Everything suddenly felt even more twisted. Was Daniel stringing Jenna along while secretly reconnecting with his ex-wife? Or was Claire blackmailing him? The betrayal had already been unbearable, but now it felt like she was in a web of lies much deeper than she imagined. She hung up the phone and stared at Daniel, who was sitting calmly on the couch watching a show, completely unaware that the world he'd built on deception was starting to fall apart. Emma now had more than one woman to worry about. And the truth, it seemed, was far from finished revealing itself. Emma knew she couldn't wait any longer. That evening, she sat Daniel down in the living room, her hands steady even though her heart felt like it might crack. He looked surprised when she turned off the TV and faced him. "We need to talk," she said, her voice low. Daniel tried to smile, but she saw the flicker of fear in his eyes. "About what?" "About Jenna. And Claire. And the money you've been hiding." his face drained of color. "Emma, I can explain," she held up her hand. "Don't bother lying. I know everything. You've been cheating on me with Jenna for months. You've been transferring money to your ex-wife. What else have you been hiding?" Daniel opened and closed his mouth like he couldn't find the right lie fast enough. "It's not what you think. Claire, she needed help. She was going to tell you about us. I thought if I sent her money, she'd stay quiet." Emma swallowed her disgust. "So you've been paying off your ex to cover up your past while sleeping with my best friend?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I never stopped loving Claire," he whispered. "Jenna was a distraction. But Claire, she wants to try again. I was planning to leave." Emma felt her knees go weak, but she stayed standing. "Then go," she said. Daniel stood up slowly, but before he reached the door, Emma spoke again, her voice calm. "One more thing. Jenna isn't pregnant like she told you. She lied to trap you." Daniel turned, his face pale. "What?" "She told me herself when she called to gloat," Emma said. "Looks like you were never the only one keeping secrets." As he stared at her, speechless, Emma felt something she hadn't in months, relief. Daniel stood frozen in the doorway, looking like a man whose world had finally crashed in on him. Emma felt a strange, quiet power watching him realize the mess he'd made. He stammered for a moment, trying to deny it all, but the fight seemed to drain out of him. Without another word, he picked up his keys and left the house, leaving Emma alone in the silence he'd created. Over the next few days, Emma took back control of her life piece by piece. She met with a lawyer and began the process of filing for divorce. Lily helped her trace the missing money, and Emma managed to freeze enough of their joint accounts to protect her share. It turned out Daniel had been planning to empty everything and run away with Claire, who wanted to start a new life overseas. And Jenna, humiliated and exposed, tried calling Emma multiple times, but Emma never answered. She felt no need to hear any more lies. Emma's friends rallied around her, offering support and comfort. Slowly, she began to feel lighter, no longer burdened by the secrets that had poisoned her marriage. Looking back, she realized how deeply trust mattered, and how dangerous it was to ignore small signs that something was wrong. Emma knew healing would take time, but she felt hopeful. She'd faced betrayal from the two people she trusted most, yet she discovered a resilience she didn't know she had. And as she stood at her window one morning, sunlight streaming in, she promised herself one thing: never again would she settle for half-truths or hidden messages. Because now, she finally knew her worth, and she would never let anyone take it away.